We live. There we go. There we go live. Hey, welcome to the Side Talk live stream. There we go. Hey, welcome to the Side Talk live stream with your host Ty, Captain Naga, whatever it is, bros. Thanks for tuning in. It's a little late night. Well, on the east, I'm on the West Coast. If y'all are on the East Side, man. Hey, shout outs to y'all if y'all gonna tune in here. But I'm gonna leave the chat room open for a bit. I want to see, let the room gang, man. But hey, I'm excited. I got some awesome things I want to talk about when it comes to magic mushrooms and psychedelics and whatever it is that y'all bring up along the path. Hey, we just want. I'm gonna just tag along and laugh, you know. So thanks for tuning into the side talk thing. I'm gonna start this off though playing some DePaulo. This is my God though. So he raps about spirituality, about on the level that we be talking about. So, hey man, check him out. When you kiss the frog, I'm just me. Never just keep doing you, and I'ma do me. Don't let me let me find the happy me. I'ma tell you now, ain't no one higher than me. I am a G, depending on geometrics. Wonder what the object is gonna be. It's angel wings, man. See. You got nobody to be in. From the AM, now you born again, now you got nothing to be in. And you done lost in the cycle, going round and round, we call it the seasons. This big crystal ball, never y'all know, nigga, we pride and reason. I wasn't leaving a trail for you to follow. It's basically saying that I was here. Look into the crystal ball, let your imagination fly. Damn. Something's not right. Get up the Pollen, man. It's the top flight. Hey man, I'm just getting it ready, letting the room fill in. But this is a good artist. He raps about spirituality on the level that we recognize, or that a lot of people up there with. Oh man. For sure, just look at the crystal ball. I don't really think they get the lingo. You're not a brother, man. You can call me Mr. Cleo. You can call him Mr. Cleo. Don't give a fuck about bullshit like those sparrows. I played the cards that was dealt. Ain't talking low terror. Spirits come through that shit and drain your bone marrow. That's divination, not innovation. That's an invitation. Acting like it's a saying. To possess you is looking naked. Sometimes defenses and spirits that can actually get well. This is play by play, man. No secret water like Space Jam. If you dance, wait, then I'ma have to cut you off like K-Can. Alright, I'm about to get the stove started real soon. But if y'all have any questions, it's just an open chat as well. Throw them at me. To crystallize all the stone structures. When you gonna call it if it goes busters? Something's not right. I want to see the song. Why you top flight? All right. Thank you, Flight Man. Hey, sorry for the crying, y'all here, but I was going over Micheal Pollan again. As y'all, if y'all don't know Micheal Pollan, he came out with the book How to Change Your Mind or Change Your Mind. I don't know which one it is, simply put. But it made it to the New York Times bestsellers list. And why I care about this, why I want to tie on this. And before I go into all of this, remember, the Side Tie Show or any of this do not condone the use of illegal or legal drugs. What you're doing with your body is your body. I just get my 2 cents worth of experience in pure research, and what we're gonna do in this, just go over this for educational purposes. Said this to the censors. All right, but let's move past that. But why I care so much about the New York Times bestsellers list is because that's what it's a bestsellers list. So it means it's reaching out to a lot of people. And what Micheal Pollan did with this book, Change Your Mind, he went in to the psychedelic world. And this is a guy that haven't dealt with psychedelics, or it looked like he didn't even ever smoked weed ever in his life. And he came out with a lot of, he had a couple other New York Times bestsellers lists. I don't believe he's a scientist, but I think he wrote some food books or and some other books that just was real popular. So people respect his name, because that's why I said we need to all start this conversation of the psychedelics and everything, because we all have our own voice, and everybody in this world has different configurations since they grew up, so they're able to hear like certain voices for some reason. Y'all know how it is. Like it's some people y'all like, if he just had a different kind of voice, I'll be able to listen to it. Like some people say that probably about me. Like if he just talked a little different, then I'll be able to actually pay attention. But or come from a different background. You know how a lot of people still on a level have judgments of where people come from before they can start listening or even lend an ear to what they say. And that's why these homeless people and everything is such in a rut, when they all have their all individual stories and stuff. I don't know. I'm just tying because I like to talk to anybody that walk up to me today. It was this awesome guy. This awesome guy, and he was talking about where his name Victor came from, how his mom, just random guy, started talking about how his mom named him Victor based off of a black pope hundreds of years ago, and he started randomly. These Moors rode elephants to invade this country. And I was just lending the ear. I was like, okay, this was on your mind right now. But yeah, back to Micheal Pollan. He wrote this book, How to Change Your Mind. He went with these experiences of experiencing psychedelic experiences of 5-MeO DMT, psilocybin mushrooms. I'm not positive if he did LSD, but I am pretty sure. And what he was talking get into it, he saw how they were doing these research. They were doing these studies. These researchers were doing these studies that we go on top podcasts, like individual studies. Y'all gotta just let that fall. Y'all gotta check that out. But he was seeing these, and he was like, "All right, something is erupting." And with his mind, he was like, I'm gonna be a rebel, and yeah, I'm gonna do. He just went for it. He just went all for it. And what his dose range, he did high doses of a lot of things. He didn't really do small doses, and he wanted to do it in the same range as they was doing at the John Hopkins and the New York University and things like that. So we can see from, but what he came out with into it with, because we all go through that. All of us who had a psychedelic experience of reading. For me, I took about 2 years reading information on LSD, magic mushrooms, and everything. I was like, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, I understand what they're talking about, man. But then, once I actually had an experience, I was like, oh, those my bros. Like whoever had this experience is my bro. Like it's a whole nother level. Instead of extrapolating and thinking, you experiencing life. I was experiencing life. It was awesome. But he came out with this book, and it was pretty dope. I didn't get my hands on it yet. But I'm gonna get it on. I was watching him on the Joe Rogan podcast talk about magic mushrooms and stuff like that. But this psychedelic research, this psychedelic renaissance, I'm so happy to be here in 2018, even though I'm part of this timeless stuff. But when I'm here, I act as though I'm 2018. And what's so awesome about that is that all this research was shut down in the 50s and the 60s and things like that. But it kept going. Luckily, it came back up in the 80s and 90s when they tried to treat people for uh, people who had terminal illnesses that were on the verge of just dying, and they had all this anxiety and stuff, and they was like, it has to be something that can help them out. So these underground researchers that never stopped from the 50s and 60s, because scientists, as I always say, are legit. They're not just going to go out in the world and be all experimenting with drugs and stuff and then try to publish a study. They don't rock like that. So if that research was going on, it was kept very underground. it was very occultic. It was hermetically sealed, and it was just in the know. And for the people that wasn't in the know, they looked at the people that even thought about that kind of stuff as just hippies, druggies, low lives, soon to be homeless, soon to be in a mental ward, challenging religion like that. It was too much. But now we seeing they can be used for all these other reasons, and then in turn we're going to build ourselves up, hopefully eventually to dealing with religion and stuff like that. But y'all see all this waking up, coming up now. Like a lot of chaos is going on right now because chaos has to happen for something beautiful to come out of it. We can't be too comfortable in one picture because then we're going to be settling for it. If something bad got to happen, so we can be like, all right, take a big picture and like, and say this is not what I want to happen. And psilocybin mushrooms for me, combined with meditation and yoga, it really puts me in that state of mind where I'm able to go back to third person view and see what I'm doing. Because through my experience, I've seen we all part of this big picture. My role is 100% as important as somebody else's role, as the tree's role, as the ant's role. We're all 100% important. We all 100% of the same puzzle. It's just not a 3D puzzle, so it's possible that we all that 100%. So I'm really focused. It allows me to really focus on staying on track. Staying on track. I gotta thank you for that. But this is I got a clip if y'all willing to listen to it of what is Micheal Pollan actually describing one of his trips. Actually describing it. I'm just going to turn that thing on.
Very different. This one
Make sure y'all
was
can hear.
the most disturbing and most upsetting and the hardest to describe. It truly was ineffable. I had other experiences that were much more positive all through.
Help me understand all the insights, and in the book I've read of many.
Micheal Pollan's the ball getting interviewed, obviously.
Profound or enlightening experience that you experienced, that you had in these different.
Yeah, it was an experience I had on psilocybin.
Yeah, I got it at the right part.
Mushrooms. I was actually eating the mushrooms, not the synthetic version that's used in the trials, the above ground drug trials.
Yeah, you heard how he said the above ground drug trials, which means there's a lot going on. I remember going over an article in the New York Times in one of the podcasts where he's talking about this 80-year-old lady named Mary who asked to have her name, asked to have her name changed because of the studies and things that she's doing, but she guided him through one of his ceremonies. Her name was Mary.
And I had a high dose. I was actually trying to use the same dose being used.
This is where I got that
at
from.
Imperial College and at other trials, Johns Hopkins, to see what that was like. And I stepped up the dose gradually with my guide, and the experience didn't begin that well. She was playing bad music, or what I regarded as bad music. It was this new age composition that sounded like very electronic. And it's amazing how powerful the music is in creating the environment you're in. Synesthesia is a very common effect on psychedelics. It's the confusion of senses, so you can smell a musical note or feel it or see it. And for me, it conjured this landscape that was this kind of computer-generated world. I felt like I was in a video game for a very long time, and it was all black, and
it makes me think about the simulation theory.
Scary, but it was like not where I wanted to be, and I was sort of stuck in there for a long time. And she changed the music, and I was still in computer world. And at some point, I felt this anxiety rising, and I decided I needed a little break. I also needed to pee, so I took off my blindfold, and it was amazing. I wanted to make sure the world was still existing, and it was. And there were doors and windows and furniture. It was wonderful. But they were different. They were jeweled with light, and they were shooting these little beams of light right to me, and it was kind of remarkable. And
reminds me of Christmas.
In the bathroom, and my guide,
lighting up the Christmas trees.
She took me by the elbow and guided me across her room to the bathroom, and I went into the bathroom, and I didn't want to look in the mirror. I just did not know what I would see. It just seemed like a high risk proposition. And so as I described in the book, I produced a spectacular crop of diamonds. It was really the most amazing urination anyone's ever had. And
P diamonds.
these are the kind of
P
experiences,
diamonds.
I'm being frank. And afterward, I got back to the mattress I was on, and she was kneeling right next to the head of the mattress, and she said, "Do you want a booster? Do you want more?" And I had agreed to go up to this level, equivalent to 25 milligrams. And
how many grams is that?
I looked at her as she was handing me the mushroom, and she had completely transformed. She was blonde. She has hair parted in the middle. She's blonde. She has high cheekbones, and she's very attractive. And she had turned into a Mexican Indian. She had black hair now,
Oh, wow.
white peasant dress, leathery skin, and her hands were just the hands of an old woman. And I knew who she had turned into. I recognized her immediately. She was Maria Sabina.
Maria
A
Sabina.
famous figure in the history
Yes.
of psilocybin.
She worked with the people.
Mexican curandera, or healer, who gave the first Westerner
Yep.
an experience on psilocybin in 1955.
That's a true story. That's a true story. Marina Sabina, salute.
And he brought the news of psilocybin to the West in a famous article.
Something you'd obviously discovered in your research.
Obviously, but it's real now.
You were really, really high at this point.
I was.
This person don't understand. He's just like, you were really high. No,
So anyway,
really
so
go
I
and
take the mushroom
experience
from her,
these
from Maria
things.
Sabina, and I'm afraid to marry with the name of my guy. What happened to her? I later learned she was flattered to be turned into Maria Sabina. And I take the
She probably was
mushroom,
channeling
and then
her
I
in
put
some
the
kind
eye
of
shades
sense.
back on. I had this the most profound experience I've had on all these psychedelics, which is the experience of watching disintegrate. I was turned into papers, and yet who's this eye who's observing this? There was this, I could watch myself. Yet desire to pull it back together, to papers back together into my accustomed self. And I was spread over the landscape like a coat of paint. And that was me, out there. I was perceiving this from this new vantage that I had never experienced before, that was fine with it, objective, disinterested. And I don't know what that consciousness was. Else was the mind at large. It was some consciousness that personal. I don't know if that's true. I tend to believe by the brain. But it taught me something very important, which I'm not.
All right, let's let him finish.
That chatter, that neurotic voice that's urging us on perfection and recriminations, regrets about the past, worries about the future, that which I give a lot of credit to. It got the book written. Nevertheless, is a pretty harsh ruler sometimes. I wasn't identical to it in which to stand, and that was really profound. And then I went to our integration session, and I told her about it. Wow, don't you think that's worth the price of admission? And I said, yes, but it goes back in uniform and on patrol. I'm back to baseline, so what good? And she said something interesting. She said, well, now that you've another way of being, of life throws at you, and the ego is basically defensive. You can cultivate, and I've been cultivating that ever since in other means.
It's all I be talking about every day.
I've gotten a certain distance on my ego for. That's been very helpful.
And do you think, in terms of applying...
That right there. Yeah, when he was talking about Onyx Hug, it's a disconnected consciousness, but Micheal Pollan believes that consciousness is brain. But then that would mean that once you die, that everything ceases. If we want to choose to believe that consciousness is creating our reality. My view in my Just Time world, where Just Time stands for combining your mind and combine that circle, and whatever come out. With my experience, this is just including in the brain, including called a processor. Aldous Huxley, if y'all read his book, wrote The Doors of Perception, which was a huge, because Aldous Huxley, if y'all not that on his deathbed, he injected him with LSD. So that guy, like, like wow. If you really, if I just tied on that scenario right there, like he just off eyes rolling, like you yo, was just it's like floats off. I thought it was say probably just, but he wrote one of my that I always in high school used to say woke me up to a lot of going on in life, and that was the book Brave New World was so eye opening to me. Able to found these people. I don't know about this that's now is really today was made to be way in the future, but that's how it is today. We live in the world, and a lot of other people were onto this years ago, but because of just because of time, mad people don't want to stuff. It just had to be shut down in all cases.
A lot of scientists are now becoming interested in doing, looking at whether these drugs can be.
Yeah, but this research is very, very to all of us as a human, as humans here on this game, as you want to see it. Like you said, as you saw when see that what I would call the man here, and then it was the Atman and the Brahman. Some religions put it, the Atman, the Brahman, the higher self that communicates with this ego, thinks that this is it. Just like in a video game, the play is it. That's how reality is because that's experiencing. But with these psychedelic experiences, we're able to move into other and other people to move into other spaces, able to find that center that you hear a lot of when people say, just find your center when you ever get angry. And find your center, and people be like, well, my center is that I'm experiencing that and be all comfortable and stuff like that. But as you see, it's a whole different wave. It's a whole different wave that you can be catching and that you can be riding life on this ocean. Um, not ever that either. I used to believe that my center, well, when you by yourself, that's what your center really is. Like when you by yourself, you don't got the TV on, or the moments when you're so you're not able to do anything popping up, and now that you loving it, like that's your center right there. And these psychedelics combined with meditation and integration afterwards as well, you're able to move into that you didn't even because of how people have been displaced and been living their lives, not having access as these plant medicines, not even information or valid information about it. Everybody has a scare story, and there's billions of millions of people on this earth, so something's bound to happen. The point is to make it. A lot of put it like this: a lot of people ain't gonna stop eating certain food. People eat puffer fish. Puffer fish, you is where you have to cut the poisonous, highly poisonous at a certain layer and certain like it has to be highly poisonous because if they cut it wrong, you die. All the time. People, so people are something is going to happen happen all the time. Trying to say, but some says I mean, we all I don't know something always going to happen. Just yeah. And thanks for rocking out with me. Thanks for rocking out. The conversation. Oh gosh, Ashley got back in. Yo, I'm just seeing these comments. Flight balls was good, fan. Hey V Shane, I'm extra late. Everybody got out the room. But I'm back on. I'm back on, and I'm gonna keep talking. Shout out to y'all three that was still there. That's all you need is three to complete. But this is still the Side Tie Talk live stream. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. If you want to send me any articles, anything, it's justtinow@gmail.com. Or all those social stuff is just Ty Now, TAI, not THI, or just Ty, TAI. So check us out. Check me out on there. But I'm still gonna go in because I was talking about an experience I had today. And remember, I'm not condoning any use of psychedelic drugs. What you do with your body is what you do with your body. But I had an experience. I like going to the sauna after. I got to start the story again so I know. But I like going to the sauna after a good workout because not only the physical benefits of reaching 170, your body sitting in 175 degrees heat, so your body is releasing certain chemicals and stuff that it was holding on to. So it's like a detox. But for me, what I wanted to talk about it was sometimes I like to microdose in the early day, like in the early part of the day. And I like to push myself to stay in the sauna longer and longer. But while I'm in there, I do my stretches and stuff in the steam room. And then I go to the sauna and I like to meditate. I like to just sit back. I like to cross my legs for a while, see how long I can keep that up, do some breathing, and then I like to just lay down and just be. I like to just be. And today I was able to stay in there for a good 20-25 minutes. And then that I was able to push back past my thoughts. Like if you want to put like that, I was able to go back in layers and I was able to see I was past all the chit chatter as you saw Micheal Pollan talking about. The chit chatter was stopping. I didn't hear any voices about what I had to do later in the day. I didn't hear a voice saying, oh, it's hot in here. You need to watch out. You need to be on a clock of, all right, how much longer have you been in here? And that really is a voice that runs our lives. It's really a panic voice. And it cannot be so panicky as like sitting at 175 degrees, but like, oh, I gotta make this turn. Oh, when I'm going to eat. Oh, when I'm going to wear. Oh, I'm got to still work this job. Oh, what am I going to paint? Oh, what I'm going to watch on TV. When really we need to just be in a more natural flow of things and finding this center that's the psilocybin experience put me in. I was able to put this in practice in the sauna. So it was past the chit chatter. It was also a layer of music, is what I wanted to talk about. It was a layer of music. So, as he said, the frequencies of the music that the lady was playing was creating the environment during his experience. And I had those same experiences that whatever is playing, whoever is talking, whoever is near you, whoever's emoting a sound, that's going to create the room for you. The scenery will change, what you see, how things vibrate and shake or morph. It all can go towards from the source of the music. It all can be related to the source of what's playing. So it was a layer of music that I see that always replays in my mind a lot, and I was able to get past that. Because for me, I don't be even hearing whole songs in my head. I like music, but the same like 4 bars or four words would just keep repeating in my head for like 5 days. It can be on any type of song, a Disney song, a rap song, a techno song, like just the dun 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 dun. Like that would just go through my head a lot. But that's where I'm at in the fourth and fifth dimension. That's where I'm existing at. So over the times, I've been able to hone in on why I'm playing that song, because also it's for reasons. So I was experiencing this in sauna today. I was experiencing soul in the sauna because I was thinking about why that music is always playing in my head. I always try to get deeper and deeper into things. Even if I think I know something, if the question pop up in my head, I'm not gonna say I already thought about that before. I'm like, no, all right, it must be something that's gonna be deeper revealed in this time and place right now. Shrooms always make you feel nauseous. Oh, that's something else. Alright, yeah. But the music is you put you in that space for a reason. Just like we here on Earth for a reason. But the music, I was able to move past that. I didn't, but go back to the sounds. I had to move past that, and then I was just in a, just laying down, my arms like on my stomach and stuff, and I don't know. I was. It's hard to remember every vision that I had, but I just remember thinking that, oh, I'm comfortable. I'm calm. I'm in a place where I can start thinking about where new ideas started coming to me, started flooding to me. Like I started having, I want to start working on the Sci-Ti website, the Just On That website and stuff like that. And I was having visions of where things will be at on the website, or I was seeing how I felt in situations and how good I felt because I was feeling good beforehand, so I was feeling good then. It's just I don't know, but it felt really relaxing. It felt really good to let go, to just to not to be here existing in this world, but to be in a place just widen your just to be able to widen my band of experience because I'm still here, but it's always more going on than what you always seem. But then what it seems, nothing is ever what it seems. That's that phrase. Nothing is ever what it seems. Hey man, again, if y'all have, I'm gonna keep this thing up so I can know. But if y'all have any comments or articles that y'all want to send me or anything like that, or if y'all have any questions y'all want to ask me now, this I'm here to just for open chat. I'm just here, I'm here talking. I'm gonna be talking regardless. But if y'all have anything y'all want me to look at, want me to pull up on the screen right there, I'm down. I'm down for that. But if you're just tuning in, we was going over. I was playing Micheal Pollan, and he was going over his psilocybin experience with a lady who turned into Marina Sabrina, who brought weed. I was gonna say weed, cannabis to the to the Western mines, and it was a big CEO that actually went down there. I forget his name. That's bad. I missed it. But him and his wife. His wife had experience with psychedelics, and he couldn't understand it. But instead of them breaking up and causing more chaos, he was like, "I want to understand this." So then they both traveled to Mexico and met shamans and stuff. And that's where they ran across Marina Sabrina. And they came back with this New York Times wrote New York doing and everything that this big CEO was doing everything, and that's what happened. What made you try psychedelics? Be shame. Um, what made me try psychedelics? I was doing a lot of meditation and getting into a lot of esoteric practices and reading books and stuff. Like I was practicing deep breathing, and I was watching a lot of videos for me was popping up on YouTube about waking up and um, numbers, symbolism, and everything. I was getting real deep back into that. Like I was when I was in high school. I used to be real into symbols and math, and always the extra sense of aliens and stuff like that. So then, with all of that, I guess you can say YouTube, because I don't have any friends that was into psychedelics. I didn't have any friends that did that. So YouTube just suggested videos after a while with me diving deep. It just said the AI, the artificial intelligence, and the algorithm was like, watch this video. And I was like, oh, So I was listening to a lot of Terrence McKenna, Alan Watts, Manly P. Hall. He doesn't really talk about psychedelics, Manly P. Hall, but he has a whole library worth of information that he's able to just flow out and talk about. He was a cool guy. Um, yeah, but then I was like, yeah, these mushrooms and stuff. Like, yo, I was thinking that was the philosopher's stone in my world because I was into alchemy and stuff. I was like, wait, is this the thing? Is this like the next step? And I was having all these. I started making videos before psychedelics and stuff, and I was talking about the laws of vibration and as above, so below. I was like, yo, I gotta get this out. I'm learning this. It seems the most true thing that I ever learned in my life. I gotta get this out. I gotta get this out. Check out the old OG Just Top episodes. My hair was like up to here. Probably up to here. I don't know. My hair was so short. It's bundled up now. It's like down to there, but whatever. But I was like, yeah, I gotta get this message out. And wait, hold on, I gotta calm down for a second. I forgot my story. So, but anyways, um, eventually I was making videos before it, trying to get out the message. So then when I was like, yo, what is this state of mind that psychedelics is putting people in? Because the reports that I'm hearing and what they saying is very relatable to what I'm thinking about that I can achieve. Like I used to say, I'm gonna be a 60-year-old wizard flying around at my house, and y'all gonna be surprised watching y'all come by my house. I used to say that all the time. But then when I heard about psychedelics and people experience, I was like, wait a second, wait. So people like instantly are experiencing these kind of realms and stuff like that. Like this is what I'm reading in these alchemical books and about time being timeless and the ego dissolution and being able to leave out of your body, have experiences of out of body experiences. I was like, whoa, this is cool. We on some similar shit. Yeah. I was like, this is real life to some people. And eventually it just came my way when I just asked the random when I was with my friend's uncle, I asked a random question. I was like, hey man, I've been looking up acid a lot, man. You ever hear about it? He's like, yeah, I can get you some. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, I just met a guy. I was like, oh, wow. And he just met that guy too. Like he ain't really known that much before. He just met him like 3 weeks before that. And before that, this guy wasn't like a psychonaut or anything. He ain't tried psychedelics in like over 10 years or so. I think when he was a teenager, he was like 30 something then. This is about 4 years ago. Yeah. No, 3 years ago. 3 years ago. So yeah, that's how I rocked out and came to this psychedelic world. Which I found out I was always a part in. I was just asleep. But I was waking up. But I'm glad I ran into psychedelics because it probably would have kept me. I probably became too big headed. Became too big headed with an ego, like you see a lot of these other people that try to talk and help a lot of people because they learn the information, but then it's so kept in the way because they weren't ever able to move and experience it for themselves. Actually, experience moving to another space where your worries and the role that you see yourself playing in the name doesn't even matter anymore. They don't experience that, so it comes to like, all right, this is my information, which it is the information on the highest level, but on this speaking terms voice, we all we all just sharing the truth. We're just sharing the same. I was about to say the same truth, sharing the term truth, but we all just sharing the same truth. And depending on your level of consciousness and the way that you was raised around you, that's what I'm going to be more open to. Like I would have never thought I'd dye my hair teal. Like I just kept going more and focusing more on myself, being like, man, why not? Why not? Why have one color hair for all of this life here? Hair is always growing. I'm an alien, so why would I want to have regular color hair? I'm an astronaut. Start feeling like that. Start feeling like I'm an astronaut here. I always felt like that when I was younger. I always felt like I was like an alien, but it was more in a depressive way. That's why the music, I'm happy I'm able to change the music in my that plays on my frequency, that plays with that change that creates my space. Because I used to listen to a lot of depressive music, and I used to not say it was depressive. I used to say they telling the truth. Well, that's how exactly how I feel, and not just in rap. I used to listen to a lot. I say this a lot of emo music. I wasn't a scene kid because I was black, but I was real into the culture. I was into the culture for myself on my own level. I used to put black makeup around my eyes in school sometimes. I went to all black school, so was imagine that. I used to listen to Trey U and stuff. That's probably an old band now. I don't know that much nowadays. Lester Fall, Bring Me the Horizon. No, not really. That was not really that big. Oh, whatever. I'm just talking about frequencies and music and stuff like that. Well, real quick, I want to put back on Micheal Pollan.
Merge that. Is that idea of the ego being dismantled, dissolving in front of you? Could that be one of the key powers of these medicines?
I think
is that
it
the
is.
idea?
I think it is. I mean, the researchers who've worked with this, both in the UK and in America, find that the people who respond best are the ones who have had what they call a complete mystical experience in America. In England, they don't like that language quite as much, the spiritual tone of that. And they talk about ego dissolution. And the people who had an experience of complete or nearly complete ego dissolution seem to be the ones who respond. Why should that be? Well, as I had a new perspective on myself, these people may attain a new perspective on themselves.
Yep.
And that we get trapped in ego thinking, and the ego can be very punishing. Freud wrote about that as, depression is the ego punishing itself, punishing the self. And so to have some relief.
Yeah, I used to be real hard on myself. That's what it was. I used to be like, I can't help the people around me the way that I really wish to help them. And I took it all out on myself. I took it all out on myself all the time.
Dad, can I sit with you?
Not right now.
Why?
In a second.
But I just want to get these two things. I just
From
want to
that
get this.
harsh rule
Okay, Dad?
may be what's helping
And
people
don't just
break
say
out of those
anything
habits
when
and
they
so on.
bring stuff.
There are other ways to understand it, other brain structures that are complicated, but it should be that.
My daughter is hilarious.
There was a researcher in the 50s who called it therapy by self-transcendence. Maybe what's going on. Too soon to say for sure, though.
I was going to say,
Therapy by self-transcendence. That's real big. Therapy by self-transcendence. Because religion, which I grew up in, was in the summers, I was Jehovah's Witness because I would go to my grandma's house in Virginia, and we had to go Jehovah's Witness all the time. They even had the meetings at her house. So I know a lot about that. And also I grew up in Christianity and was a non-denominational Christian. So they didn't really have a denomination like Baptist or Protestant. Yeah, Protestant. I'm trying to say prostitute. Anything. So you under that thing that you have to look towards something else in order for you to transcend anywhere, and that you don't have any power because you're worthless. So this is likely because I was feeling and having intuitions of other ideas. I guess other ideas was just being naturally downloaded to me. But my programming and the agent in me was trying to come out and try to bring back all the things that religion had indoctrinated inside of me. So when I talk about these things, I'm really talking about it from my heart. I'm just used to just. All right. I'm glad. Thank y'all for still tuning in, bros. This is the grassroots. This is the beginning of the side time. Everything. This is all just the beginning. But we gonna act forever. We're gonna act like we've been doing this for eternity because we have. Deja vu. Uh, but yeah, I was experiencing depression, and religion talks about you having to look up to somebody else. When I did, and that made me powerless. I was like, well, what power do I have? Like, I'm talking, nothing has happened, and I feel powerless. I really want to help people and stuff like that, and I don't. There's nothing I can do. So all these, we see all the wars, famine. I grew up in the projects in Philadelphia, so a lot of people was always getting shot, stabbed, robbed. I knew friends that was dying. I had friends that was robbing people. Had friends that was doing the shooting, getting shot, everything. So it's wild. I've seen a lot, and this was since my early childhood. So this, me wanting to help people has always been on my mind. It started with my mom too. Started with my mom too. Like that's all connected to the same story. Because then I learned that once I was able through these psychedelic experiences that I had to help myself, and that helping myself, building myself up, and really building myself up, really focusing on what mistakes I even did in my life, and how sorry, get over a cold. Gosh. But I started seeing what I did in my life, how it affected people in my past, and how it trickled down and it was creating even more little demons or something like that. And I had to forgive myself and I had to forgive other people for what they did to me, like really on a deep, deep, eternal level, and really start working, pounding out creativity. Life for me now is about being creative, creative. Combine that male with the female, and letting the intellect combine with the heart, and being able to create, be able to create my own reality, and knowing how that really works through my experience, through self experience, and not just relying on someone else to do it for me. Because I'll be like, man, well, if my mom did had a better life or something, then I will be better. If my dad stayed around, then I would not be like this or something like that. When really, once I got to the point of self awareness, that I was able to say, oh, this is how I want to be. Okay, this is how I'm going to be. It's like I was able to rewrite my code. But it takes a lot of self work, and you got to do it. I had to do it. That's what I got to say about
I mean,
that.
how
Just
ready
time,
is
just time,
the scientific
just time.
community or and the psychiatric community for this? I mean,
Yes.
some of the things you've described to some people would be horrifying and potentially
And
quite dangerous would you agree, if not handled in the right
I
way?
think that there is definite risk, psychological risk. So, being a nervous Nelly, I my due
A
diligence
nervous Nelly.
to figure out before I was rolling the dice with my brain what was I doing, and was I stupid to do this or not? So I looked at the risk profile. On the physiological level, in terms of the body, the risks were milder than I expected them to be. These are relatively non-toxic drugs. There is no known lethal dose of LSD or psilocybin. You have drugs in your medicine cabinet that you bought without prescription that have more toxic to your body.
Something as simple
And
as
the
Tylenol.
psychiatric drugs we give people have very high toxicity very often. They're also non-addictive. If you give LSD to a rat in the cage with the usual setup where they can administer drugs to themselves, and they'll press it for cocaine until they die, preferred to food.
I
The
knew
LSD
it.
will do it once and they won't do it again. It's just too disturbing an experience. So non-addictive, relatively non-toxic. That leaves the psychological risks, and those are real. People at risk for serious psychiatric illness, such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, personality disorders, should not use these drugs, and they will be screened out of any trials. Even underground therapists will screen them out. So it's very important to have the screening that a guide brings. And even other people can have what are called bad trips, which is, episodes that are terrifying, as I had with DMT, 5-MeO DMT. Some of them are just panic reactions that go away pretty quickly. and can go away very quickly with a guide who knows what to tell you. But others are longer. People do have psychotic episodes, and so I think people should be very careful, and that's an argument for the guides. In the above ground trials going on now at many universities, there have been more than 1,000 administrations of psilocybin, just to take one example, and not a single serious adverse event. So the risk is diminished when you have a guided situation, and especially when it's above ground. But without question, I mean, these are psychologically intense experiences. They're definitely not for everybody. In terms of where the science is, we have a long way to go. I mean, we have done some very interesting pilot studies. There's a phase 2 study, which is for...
Yeah, man. I guess he's gonna bring up bad trips. Bad trips can happen. Bad trips. But the most thing about it, it's a challenging trip. It's all challenging, when you in it, just like before you had your first psychedelic, how challenging you thought this world actually was. See ya. How challenging you thought this world actually was. It still is a challenge, but it's not as scary as you thought it was. It's just scary things exist, but you don't see that until you come out of it. Moments of psychosis can actually occur. I've witnessed it myself. And with a friend who I was with. And it really is based off of, what it is though, is that it's based off of not being able to let go in that moment and holding on to it. But in that moment, you can't, it's hard to say to yourself. You're not just going to be like saying to yourself, I just got to let this go. You can be like, I can breathe. Like, you really go, or if you see a ghost, or I'm using general term ghost, an entity or something pop out, or anything, or a bad thought manifest from the past, like a trauma thought manifesting from the past in your face that you never dealt with or never thought you had to deal with, because you're not that kind of person that does that. You just not. There's many configurations of people out here. You're going to have a challenging bad trip. That's why he was saying these above ground trials really are good, because some people, they just be handing out mushrooms and stuff. But what a good strategy out there is to do is if somebody is thinking about doing it for their first time, really talking to them, not just about what psilocybin mushroom does and what they do, but also get personal with them. See, like, ask a question like, is this something that you've been fearing for a while? Or ask random question about their childhood. Like, make sure you're real cool and personal with them to begin with. But try to get that person to a level where they're already like trying to let go of things from their past and not thinking that they're so all strong and almighty and that they could just go into this world and they're not going to experience nothing that's going to actually scare them. Just go to DMT worlds, meet the jester and stuff like that, start tripping out. But on this channel, on the Just Tie Down channel, the small videos, I'll do a lot of tips. I'll be out in the woods and stuff like that, like just general emotions coming out. Real visceral emotions coming out of me explaining certain things that I was probably going through. But it was able for me talking it out on camera helped me get through it in my own life. So I was hoping that somebody else can listen to the story, and y'all know how the rest of the sentence goes. But I really wanted to use my life story to help other people, because we all on the same boat. They just tied now ship. But let's see what else they got. You probably finished this. There we go.
With a larger group in the United States that produced excellent results in cancer patients, helping them reduce their symptoms of anxiety and depression. And it had a dramatic effect, an unprecedented treatment effect. Effect size. But we still have a long way to go. Depression, we're just beginning to study. There's been a pilot study at Imperial College, very promising, but needs to be duplicated and will be duplicated soon. So we're several years becoming an actual medicine. The attitude of the psychiatric community, it depends who you talk to. Many psychiatrists would diagnose what I just described to you, my experience, as a psychotic episode. That's crazy. I think that shows there's a problem with their criteria.
Yeah.
Because it had no lasting negative effect. And yeah, I guess if your criteria say loss of personality, hallucinations, that sounds like psychosis, but in fact it's not. Very early on in the history of LSD research, they called it a psychotomimetic, and they thought it
Psychotomimetic.
But I think that's a mistake.
And given your experience on it, are you less afraid of these drugs now than you were before?
I still have a healthy fear. One of the thoughts I had after my psilocybin experience is like, I had a fear that some kind of underlying madness would emerge, and that there was unresolved stuff that would come up, and it would be very disturbing. And I emerged from it thinking, wow, I'm a much sturdier person than I thought I was. And but my guide said, well, on any given day, it could turn out differently. And there still might be childhood trauma you could get in touch with. So I would approach it, if I were to do it again, with the same kind of healthy fear. I don't feel like I casually.
Just to go back, I just interjected there was a bit, in terms of the cancer patient, to give people a sense of how these benefits might manifest themselves. What you've described is just crazy and out there. How
so crazy and out
there.
there.
Benefit they took away from.
Yeah, it's out there.
I'll tell you the story of one woman I interviewed, Dinah Baser. She was a 60-ish figure skating instructor who lived in Manhattan, and she had ovarian cancer, and it had been treated successfully. It was in remission, but she was paralyzed by fear of recurrence. And she just couldn't do anything. She was just sure that the other shoe was going to drop any day. And she heard about this trial. She'd never used psychedelics, and was admitted at NYU. And she had a very powerful experience, part of which involved, and this was true of many of the cancer patients, of imaginatively going into her body and looking around. And in her case, what she saw was not her cancer. It was a black mass underneath her rib cage. So she knew it wasn't her cancer. It was
wow.
But she realized what
That's
it was.
a good story.
Was fear. She screamed at it and appeared. It happened in her static experience after that, where she said, now I have to tell you, she said she was an atheist when she began this experience, and an atheist afterwards, but she said she felt bathed in God's love. That's how she described it. And when I said, and she said, I felt.
Yep.
But
I don't consider myself atheist.
Afterwards,
that's why people get confused when they say Buddhists are atheists. It's a lot of confusion in there, but Buddhists are not atheists. It's just that the terms that we come to use on this earth don't really suffice for what's going on in the big realm of realities. So where video I like for that. Like people kept calling, come on. Yeah, I caught a lot of slack for that in the simulation video. People say, it's not a simulation. Using the word simulation and blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I know I'm only using human English, not even that ancient other language, to be describing such otherworldly things. English seems like a language that's based off of things in this reality. It's so messed up anyway, too, compared to other languages, a bastard language made out of a bunch of other languages mixed together. So yes, I understand that. But what I also understand, what I wanted to talk about was that fear is a 4-letter spell. It's a 4-letter spell that is put over our lives, and we live a lot of our lives through fear. Like whatever is in us is reflected on the outside. So we always experiencing fearful situations, such as diseases like cancers, or such as being late, or messing up on projects, or not having the motivation to do things. Anything that really comes up in your reality, the fear of, like, some people don't even come out of their house, don't even walk out of their doors. They just sit and watch TV all day, and they think they're comfortable, but it's a fear. It's a fear of going outside, a fear of interacting with other people, a fear of animals. I don't know, probably going to rain or anything. Like, a fear holds us back from moving into places that will actually benefit us. I moved all the way from Philadelphia to California on a whim. So I know about changing your physical space as well as your mental space. But it all starts in the mental space. It all starts with working really hard to be like, this is how I am, this is how I think. And seeing other outside influences as yourself and learning from them and stuff like that, but not really embodying it in such a way that you're you're emoting it and attaching yourself to it. Like, you see the light in the dark and you combine it. You're not just like, oh, I'm dark, or oh, I'm the light. Like, no, you somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle, trying to keep a balance, because that's what we're trying to do here on Earth, is keep a balance. That's why we're here. We're just trying to keep things at a certain thing. But fear, she was talking about when she had this high dose psychedelic experience. She saw a black thing in her chest, like underneath her chest, and a black orb in her chest, and it was fear. It wasn't her cancer, it was fear. And she screamed at it. She screamed at it, and it just went away. And we gotta face our fears. Face our fears. Check out the Sci-Fi podcast. I don't know what number it was, but type in Sci-Fi, the amygdala challenge. The amygdala, I named it amygdala challenge. The amygdala is a part of your brain where you're actually able to, that controls your emotional center. And most people is not really turned on, so they're not really reacting to things how they really would if they were fully embrace the now, the moment. But psilocybin mushrooms enhance the amygdala so that you are able to respond to fearful and cheerful situations. They was the actual study. They had people respond to fearful faces and happy faces and neutral faces, and then they recorded the other person that was having the experience's response somehow, and with fMRI machines and stuff like that. That's how it was. But check out that podcast, because since the amygdala was activated, they were able to face their fears. When things popped up, they wasn't like, I'm gonna just go back into my turtle shell and go back in. They was like, no, I'm out. I'm here. What's going on? I got my sword drawn, got my shield here. I'm ready for battle, ready to battle myself, battle these inner demons. See what I gotta do. Shoot, 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 shoot. Or show some love, all in the process. The holy almighty swing. And gotta definitely blow. I don't know. I watch a lot of anime. But yeah, that's what is it? That was a big whoop, right? Let's try to finish this video.
Um, I understood
Thanks for tuning in to this Sci-Fi Talk.
that I can't control the cancer. It's either going to come back or not, but I can't control the fear. That's in my head. I have sovereignty over that. And that insight, which was incredibly authoritative to her, removed her fear.
But that sounds like something a pain consultant or someone would have explained to her. You know, you can manage your
Yeah, but you wouldn't have believed it. You wouldn't have believed it. And that speaks to the authority of the psychedelic experience.
Yes, the authority of the psychedelic
James, who's writing about
experience
mystical
is actually experience, and not just somebody talking to you. You get to do it for yourself.
experience, which this is by his criteria, said that one of its hallmarks is the noetic quality of the experience.
Noetic.
By which he meant what happened is objectively true. An opinion, it's not an insight, it's a revealed truth. that authority is, I think, their behavior or their thinking after this. You know, I interviewed smokers and I would say, how were you able to stop smoking? And they would say things like, well, breath is precious. And how stupid
I'm
to
just
kill
about to
myself
light
with a
up, but it's not a cigarette.
Now, every smoker's had that thought.
And it's not
It
tobacco.
didn't stick.
Hemp wrap.
And with the psychedelic experience, it seems to be much stickier and persistent.
And that's what I was going to ask you next. You've had these experiences. Have they stayed with you? Your brain in some lasted with you?
Let the people know.
Would worry about, is this going to change me?
Let the American people know.
Well, that's what my wife worried about when I embarked on this. She had a lot happy I was going to write on a new subject. Yeah, she thinks you should move on. She's probably sick of hearing me writing about it.
Yeah, I was right. He just writes about food all the
she
time.
said, you know, we've been married a very long time, that you're going to have this big experience and I'm not part of it. And you could change. What she didn't think of is that I might change for the better, which is finally what she concluded. So the changes that have lasted, I think, stem from what I said earlier about a little bit of distance on my ego. I kind of can stop myself when I'm reacting defensively to things. I also am somewhat more open emotionally than I was, and more. I have an easier time talking about my feelings. I was not a very internal person, and she said something interesting, because you're not the first journalist to ask me this question, and I asked her.
Look at the people walking by in the background.
Great expert on us, you know, but our partners. And she said, my dad died in January, and I was very present for the experience. I was living with my mother and him in the apartment in New York for the last 10 days or so, and spent a lot of time with him in his bed. And it was a very intense experience. And you know, one of the things our egos defend us against is death. Thinking about it, experiencing it. Our egos are designed for self-preservation. And my guess is that if I had had these experiences, I would have found excuses not to be there so much and not to be so open to what was a very, very painful experience for everyone. And I sort of felt like I was able to say what I needed to say to my father, to my sisters around this experience, and be very present for my dad in a way I don't know that I would have before this.
If you hadn't had that psychedelic experience.
Yeah.
A lot of the early researchers, there was a certain amount of overlap with the mystical.
I had the same experience. I cut myself off from a lot of my family members for like no apparent reason. And I went through the same thing. I started calling up people saying, hey, just calling up grandmoms, cousins, saying, hey, I love you. What's going on with your day? What's happening? What's going on? So I advise y'all to do the same thing tonight. Like anybody in your house or somebody that you can call a friend, a aunt, uncle, cousin, just let them know that you love them, or that you're there, or that you're there with them, or in some kind of way that y'all talk in your world. Just something. You'll feel better.
The world of it, whatever you want to call it. I think you brilliantly described it in the books, and slipping the surly bonds of plausibility in their assumptions and their theories, perhaps. You're a liberal, I assume liberally minded, well-educated American. Do you think the rest of the world is ready to accept some of the, I don't know, just the language, the attitude that might be needed to see these actually become medicines, become useful drugs, given everything they're tied up with?
I think if they're useful, if they prove out in research, whatever the mechanism is, whether you put it in spiritual terms or psychodynamic terms, they will be embraced.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand what a mental health crisis we're in. I mean, the rates of depression are up 18% worldwide.
18%.
Since 2005. There's 300 million people with major depression.
300 million
have not responded to treatment. Suicide rates are climbing very quickly. And addiction is rampant. So we have a big problem, and we don't have a lot of tools. There has not been much innovation since the SSRIs, really, in the late 80s, early 90s.
No, so the mainstream antidepressants.
Yes, and mainstream antidepressants. And so
good thing I never got on those.
If these drugs work,
in my
and
opinion,
they prove out in the trials they're being subjected to now, they will be embraced. I don't think people care about whether it's a spiritual experience or whatever it is, or a reboot of the brain. You know, we have to find language to talk about people. Pharmaceutical companies will be working on that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Some people are.
But that's up to us too. That's up to us.
Experience. Others are not. You know, I think. I mean, it's important to understand that it'll be difficult to fit into the framework we have now of how we treat mental health, because you're really not prescribing a chemical exactly. You're prescribing an experience, and it is unless you have the experience, you don't have the effect, and that experience is a psychological experience. We've been used to either we do talk therapy or drug therapy. Here we have to combine both. And it really shouldn't even be called psychedelic therapy. It's psychedelic assisted psychotherapy.
Yep.
You need the guides, you need the whole package. And how is that going to work?
Psychedelic assisted.
You know, the pharmaceutical industry is used to selling pills you take every day. This you only do once or twice. So how do they make money from it?
They're not going to.
The psychotherapy world also depends on interminable therapies coming back week after week after week. This involves two people for most of a day, once in a while. So it's a square peg to put in a round hole, and that'll all take some work. We need to invent a new container for this kind of therapy.
Yes, we do.
We do.
Whole new titles, whole new words, phrases.
A round hole for a square peg, perhaps, but a big hole nonetheless in terms of mental health.
Well, for a long time, people complained that when all we had was talk therapy, and that was psychotherapy, it was brainless. We weren't paying attention to the brain's role in mental illness. And then we swung the other way with drugs. And then it was mindless, basically.
Turn kids into zombies.
Combine the brain and the mind in a unified
all these presents.
program.
Just messing up, working on the chemicals,
so
not really thinking about the person.
Change. And as many of the researchers will tell you, if you ask them, this could be a revolution in mental health care.
Michael, thank you so much for talking.
My pleasure, Tom.
Hey, and I'm glad to be Paul Revere. The crazy man running in the night on the horse ringing the bell. Instead of bringing warnings of terror, I'm bringing warnings of actual peace. And it's a strange thing that peace has to actually be a warning. Because people actually don't want to be as peaceful as they say they want to. People a lot of people just like living in the world or mess the habits that they are caught up in. We all do. That's what habits are, something that's comfortable. But when we start the conversation, and when this so-called revolution that Micheal Pollan was talking about really erupts and the science catches up to what psychonauts have been talking about for a long time, and what I've been experiencing in my own life and talking about to y'all, is really gonna change people. And in turn, we're going to be able to evolve the level of human consciousness up a bit. So we can we still going to have our problems in life, but we're going to have other problems to deal with. It's not going to be the same old. We're going to be moving on to dealing, I don't know, I was thinking a metaphor of we dealing with wars, fighting with each other. But then soon it's going to be like Star Wars. Like, that's how complicated our thinking is going to have to catch up with. You see all the different types of life forms, and some people know about the Jedis and magic, and other people don't. Other people into guns. It's just so many different personalities, more than just us humans out there. Just talking about extra dimensional beings and stuff that I really do believe exist. But hey guys, I think that's all I have. I'm gonna tie out soon. If y'all have any questions y'all want to ask me right now, I'm still here. Drink some water. Drink some water. What am I, robot? Drink water. Put down cup. Look suspiciously at camera. But this has been fun. Thanks for tuning in to the Sci-Tie Talk live stream. Hey man, I'm enjoying myself here. Hope y'all enjoyed it as well. Ty always, man. Ty always That stands for just think about it, but not just thinking about it, but combining your mind with your heart. Tai is like a feminine word. It's Tai. So it's masculine and feminine. So it's combining all your energies, your mind, your heart. Connect them circles, let it keep on spinning, and let whatever come out just come out. Let's come out. Probably gonna be live again in the morning, or probably try to film the podcast. Laugh Now show, check it out. Just Laugh Now. It's on here. I'm about to record that after this. I will go live, but my internet too funky. But that'll be up tomorrow. Just stay enlightened and start having a conversation. Share these videos and please smash that like button. Yes. I watch too much beauty pie, but man, we all tie. Do we really tie? Sometimes I don't know, dude. Sometimes I don't know. Till next time, it's Captain Naga, aka Ty. It's asking you to tie always.